The cafeteria buzzed with the usual midday chaos, clattering trays, laughter echoing, and the smell of greasy fries mixing with fresh coffee. But in the corner, sitting quietly with his tray, was Jamal Carter, a new student who had transferred just 2 weeks ago. He was calm, polite, and always seemed lost in his thoughts. He didn't talk much, didn't laugh loud, didn't join the crowd, and that made him the perfect target. And that's exactly what Chase Miller, the school's self-proclaimed king of popularity, was looking for that day. Chase was loud, confident, and cruel. His sneakers always squeaked like they owned the floor. Surrounded by his friends, Derek and Tyler, he spotted Jamal sitting alone, eating in silence. Chase smirked and said, "Hey, look at that. New kid's too good to sit with the rest of us." Derek laughed. "Maybe he thinks he's special." Chase grabbed his steaming cup of coffee from the vending machine. "Let's make him feel welcome." He walked toward Jamal with that arrogant swagger, the kind that demanded attention. Everyone nearby turned to look. The cafeteria grew quiet because everyone knew Chase was about to start something. Jamal looked up slowly, his eyes calm, almost unreadable. "Hey, new guy," Chase said, standing right beside his table. "You too busy to say hi? Or you think you're better than us?" Jamal blinked once and replied softly, "I'm just eating, man." Chase snorted. "Just eating, man," he mocked. "Guess we gotta spice up your lunch." And then, without a second thought, Chase tilted his cup and poured the entire coffee over Jamal's food and his white shirt. The dark liquid splashed across Jamal's chest, dripping down his tray. The crowd gasped. Some laughed nervously. A few whispered, "That's messed up, dude." Jamal stood still. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't even flinch. He just stared down at the coffee soaking into his clothes, then looked up, straight into Chase's eyes. For a brief second, the air felt heavy. Jamal's gaze wasn't angry. It wasn't scared either. It was something else, controlled, calm, powerful. Chase shifted slightly, feeling an odd wave of discomfort, but he quickly masked it with a grin. "What's wrong?" "You gonna cry?" he teased. "Need your mommy to clean your shirt?" Jamal's voice was low but steady. "You shouldn't have done that." The words were quiet, but the tone made everyone freeze. There was no threat in them, just certainty. Something about the way he said it made Chase's laughter die mid-sentence. Derek spoke up, nervous now. "Yo, Chase, let's just—" "Nah, man," Chase interrupted. "If he wants to talk big, let's see if he can back it up." He shoved Jamal's shoulder, hard. Jamal didn't move an inch. His feet stayed planted. His face stayed calm. Instead, he took a slow breath and said, "I'm not fighting you." Chase laughed again, trying to recover his confidence. "Of course you're not." "You'd lose." Jamal simply replied, "Maybe. Or maybe I just know when. A fight isn't worth it." The bell rang, cutting through the tension. Students scattered, whispering, some glancing back at Jamal with curiosity. Chase and his friends walked off laughing, but deep down, Chase felt something strange, a flicker of unease he couldn't quite explain. That evening, Jamal sat at home, his mother helping him scrub the coffee stain from his shirt. "You okay, baby?" she asked softly. "Yeah, Mom, it's fine," he said. "It's just coffee." She looked at him carefully. "You didn't do anything, right?" Jamal smiled faintly. "No, I promised you, remember?" "No fighting." Her eyes softened. "That's my boy. You've got nothing to prove." He nodded, but deep inside he knew something. He could have ended that fight in one move. He'd spent 10 years mastering Taekwondo, won 10 national gold medals, trained under champions, and learned discipline, control, and respect. And that's exactly why he didn't fight back. But the world, especially people like Chase, didn't always understand restraint. And sometimes, life has a way of forcing lessons to be learned the hard way. The next day, the story of the coffee incident spread through the school like wildfire. Some students praised Jamal for keeping his cool. Others mocked him for not standing up for himself. And Chase? He couldn't stop bragging. "Dude didn't even swing," he told everyone in the hallway. "Guess he's all bark, no bite." Laughter followed wherever Chase went. But little did he know, the next few days were about to flip his world upside down. That afternoon in the school gym, Coach Ramirez pinned up a new poster on the bulletin board. "Citywide Taekwondo Championship. featuring special guest demonstrations. Chase glanced at it lazily until his eyes landed on the photo of one of the guest performers, Jamal Carter, standing proudly in a crisp white uniform, surrounded by trophies, his name printed bold under the image. 10x national gold medalist Jamal Carter. Chase blinked, confused. Wait, what? Tyler leaned over. Yo, isn't that the same dude you, spilled coffee on? Chase's stomach dropped. His mouth went dry. No way, he muttered. That can't be him. But it was. And for the first time, Chase didn't feel powerful. He felt small. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jamal's calm stare, those eyes that never flinched. He remembered the way Jamal said, "You shouldn't have done that." Now the words echoed like thunder. By morning, Chase knew he had two choices: ignore it and hope no one found out, or face what he'd done before it came back to haunt him. What he didn't know was that fate had already decided. The next morning, Jamal walked into the cafeteria as usual, quietly carrying his lunch tray. The air seemed different today. Students whispered as he passed, some nodding, others staring, and a few avoiding his gaze entirely. Word had spread fast. Jamal Carter, the quiet, polite new kid, was not just another student. He was a 10-time Taekwondo gold medalist. Chase Miller, meanwhile, sat at his usual table, attempting to act unfazed. But inside, he was a whirlwind of panic and disbelief. He replayed the coffee incident in his mind. Jamal's calm, unwavering eyes, the way he didn't even flinch. And now, knowing Jamal's reputation in Taekwondo, that calmness suddenly felt ominous. Derek leaned over, whispering nervously, "Dude, he's not messing around. Have you seen what he's done in competitions?" Chase forced a laugh. Yeah. He's a martial arts guy. So what? I don't care. But the truth was he did care, more than he wanted to admit. That coffee incident suddenly seemed reckless, almost stupid. The fear that Jamal could actually defend himself in a way Chase couldn't even imagine gnawed at him. As Jamal sat down at a corner table, he noticed a group of students, laughing and pointing at Chase. Something about the whispers and stares made him curious. He decided to stay quiet, observing. He didn't want drama, but he also understood the delicate balance of respect and reputation in high school. Lunch progressed slowly. Chase tried to eat, but his appetite was gone. Every glance toward Jamal was a reminder of his humiliation waiting to happen. Then it happened. A ball from the gym, someone's stray kick, rolled across the floor and hit Jamal's tray. He barely reacted, setting the tray back with a gentle hand. But Chase saw the flicker in Jamal's eyes, not anger, not fear, but focus. Suddenly, a voice interrupted the cafeteria. "Is Jamal Carter here?" The room went silent. Jamal looked up. Standing at the entrance was Coach Ramirez, holding a clipboard exuding authority. Behind him, a few reporters from the local youth sports news outlet followed, cameras in hand. "Yeah, that's me," Jamal replied politely, standing. Coach Ramirez smiled. "Jamal, we've invited you to demonstrate your skills today for a special exhibition match. Your story of discipline and perseverance is exactly what we want to share." Chase's jaw dropped. The laughter that usually followed him seemed to vanish. His friends exchanged nervous glances, realizing for the first time that Jamal's achievements were real. Later that day, the gym was packed with students, teachers, and parents. Jamal stepped onto the mat, his uniform crisp, his posture perfect. The moment felt electric. Everyone waited with bated breath. Chase, sitting at the bleachers, tried to act indifferent, but his palms were sweaty. He had underestimated Jamal, and now the consequences were unavoidable. Jamal began his demonstration with slow, controlled movements, each kick and punch perfectly executed. The crowd gasped as he transitioned from one technique to another with incredible precision. It wasn't just skill, it was art. Then, Coach Ramirez announced a surprise. Jamal has agreed to a friendly challenge. Any volunteer may face him in a demonstration match. Whispers rippled through the gym. Chase felt a familiar thrill of arrogance rise in him. He stood up, puffing out his chest. "I'll do it," he declared, walking confidently toward the mat. The room fell silent. Jamal's calm eyes met Chase's smug grin. He didn't flinch, didn't even smile. "Are you sure?" Jamal asked softly, almost a whisper. "I don't want to hurt you." Chase laughed. "Ha! Don't worry. I've got this. You're just a kid. Jamal nodded once and stepped back into position. The match began. At first, Chase tried to rely on sheer size and intimidation, lunging toward Jamal. But with every move, Jamal anticipated, dodged, and countered, with gentle but firm taps, showcasing his mastery without ever causing harm. Chase's confidence began to crack. By the 5th minute, the audience was cheering, not for Chase, but for Jamal. Every perfectly executed kick and stance drew gasps and applause. Chase's movements were clumsy, impulsive, and outmatched. Finally, Jamal executed a perfectly controlled demonstration of a technique he had mastered over years. Chase stumbled and fell, not hurt, but completely defeated in front of everyone. The gym erupted in cheers for Jamal. Chase scrambled to his feet, feeling humiliated. His friends tried to act supportive, but even they couldn't hide their awe. Jamal, however, extended a hand to Chase. "Good effort," he said calmly. "Remember, skill isn't just about strength. It's about discipline, respect, and control." Chase hesitated, then reluctantly shook his hand. For the first time, he felt true respect for the boy he had mocked. The next day at school, Chase avoided Jamal entirely. He realized that arrogance and cruelty didn't earn respect. They earned consequences. Meanwhile, Jamal's reputation soared. Students who had previously ignored him now treated him with admiration, some even asking for advice on sports and life discipline. Jamal, however, remained humble. He didn't gloat, didn't boast. His mother noticed the change in him as well. "You're handling this well," she said. "But remember, some people need to learn their lessons, even if it's hard for them to admit it." Jamal nodded. He understood that strength was not just physical, it was moral. And sometimes the biggest victories weren't about defeating someone. They were about teaching respect, without hate. By the end of the week, Chase approached Jamal quietly in the hallway. "Hey, about the cafeteria thing." Jamal looked at him calm. "I've already moved past it." "You should too." Chase swallowed, nodding. "Yeah, I get it now." And in that moment, something changed. Chase wasn't just scared, he had learned humility. He realized that mocking others could never build true power. And he felt the first spark of real respect for Jamal, not just for his skills, but for his character. Little did they both know this was just the beginning. Jamal's quiet strength would soon face another challenge, one that no amount of discipline or skill could prepare him for. And when it came, the lessons for Chase and everyone else would only grow deeper. The weekend passed quietly, but the tension in school was palpable. Jamal returned on Monday, calm as ever, carrying his backpack and a quiet confidence that radiated without effort. Whispers followed him through the halls, and students glanced in awe. Even teachers seemed to treat him differently, respecting the quiet discipline he carried like armor. Chase Miller, however, was restless. Humiliation from the cafeteria demonstration still gnawed at him. His pride, bruised and raw, demanded redemption, though he didn't know how to achieve it. All week, he avoided Jamal, but he couldn't escape the constant reminder. Jamal had bested him, effortlessly with control and grace. Then on Friday, an announcement came over the intercom. "Attention students, there will be a special martial arts demonstration. Today in the gym at 3 p.m. All are encouraged to attend." Chase's stomach sank. He knew this could only mean one thing: Jamal. The entire school gathered in the gym, murmuring excitedly. The bleachers were packed, teachers and students alike waiting for the spectacle. Jamal stepped onto the mat, his uniform pristine, his movements fluid. He nodded politely to the crowd but focused on something else, something Chase hadn't yet realized. Today's demonstration wasn't just about skill. It was a lesson. Chase, fueled by pride and panic, marched forward. "I'll do it this time," he declared, trying to mask his anxiety with bravado. "I'll show everyone I'm not a loser." Jamal's calm gaze met Chase's. "Are you sure you want to do this again?" he asked softly, his voice steady and confident. Chase smirked, forcing a laugh. "Yeah, you didn't teach me enough last time." The match began. Chase rushed in aggressively, trying to overpower Jamal with raw force. But Jamal moved with precision, sidestepping, redirecting, and using Chase's own momentum against him. The crowd gasped at every controlled maneuver. Chase's strength was useless against Jamal's skill. But Jamal didn't stop there. He paused, looked around the gym, and then spoke to everyone. Strength isn't about who can hit harder. Power isn't about making others feel small. Real strength comes from discipline, respect, and humility. The students were stunned. Jamal's words resonated far deeper than the demonstration itself. Chase, sweating and flustered, felt his arrogance crumble. Then came the moment that would leave the school talking for months. Jamal executed a flawless series of techniques, each move precise, each stance demonstrating not just skill, but control and respect for others. Chase stumbled and fell, not hurt, but utterly defeated again. The crowd erupted in applause, but this time, the cheers weren't just for Jamal's ability. They were for the lesson he imparted. Chase struggled to his feet. Humiliation burned, but something new flickered inside him. Awareness. He realized that mocking, bullying, and acting superior had never earned him respect. Watching Jamal had taught him that true power came from mastery of self, not dominance over others. Jamal approached Chase calmly. "It's okay," he said. "You don't need to be the strongest. You just need to respect others and yourself." Chase, unable to find words, simply nodded. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes. For the first time, he understood what it meant to be truly strong, not just in body, but in heart and mind. After the demonstration, Jamal addressed the entire school. "I know many of you feel pressure to be the toughest, the loudest, the fastest, but those things are temporary. What lasts is respect, kindness, and discipline. Treat others well. Stand up for yourself without putting others down. That is the path to real strength." The message struck hard. Students who had laughed at Jamal, who had whispered behind his back, now looked at him with admiration. Chase, once a loud, arrogant bully, quietly reflected on every action he had taken and every word he had spoken. Later that day, in the hallway, Chase approached Jamal again. This time there was no bravado, no mask of confidence. "Jamal, I get it now," he said softly. "I was wrong. You've taught me something I'll never forget." Jamal smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "I'm glad you understand. That's the first step." From that moment, things changed. Chase began to behave differently. He no longer bullied others, no longer sought empty victories. Instead, he focused on improving himself, quietly, without needing to prove anything. The ripple effect was noticeable. Other students started showing more respect, more kindness, more thoughtfulness. Jamal had set an example, and the school had learned. Weeks later, Jamal's mother noticed the change in her son. "You handled that perfectly," she said. "But remember, strength isn't just about defending yourself. It's about teaching others what it means to be strong in spirit as well." Jamal nodded. "I know, Mom, that's the real win." And indeed it was. The school would remember the story of the quiet, disciplined boy who had been mocked, underestimated, and even targeted, but who had turned every challenge into a lesson not just in martial arts, but in humility, respect, and courage. Chase never mocked Jamal again. He became someone who defended rather than humiliated others. And Jamal, he remained calm, focused, and quietly extraordinary, the kind of person whose strength went far beyond the limits of mere physical skill. By the end of the semester, Jamal was no longer just the quiet new student. He was a symbol of respect, mastery, and true strength, proof that sometimes the most powerful victories are won not through force, but through discipline, character, and the courage to teach others the right way. Can you believe how Jamal turned the tables on Chase and the whole school? If you love this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Don't miss our next jaw-dropping story where courage and skill change everything.